I tell everybody, your job is not your life. It's just a vehicle to get what you want out of life. My job is to create opportunity and stability for these people.
You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan Englin, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a Titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. My name is Ryan Englin. This is Titans of the Trades. And on today's episode, we have someone who's not only a third generation HVAC contractor, plumbing owner, grew up in the trades, but he's also working in the private equity space to understand how do we really bring value and legacy to these businesses. This was such a great episode to record. There were times where I was just thinking, he is just speaking the truth that everybody needs to hear, and I just let him do it. It was amazing. So I want to welcome to today's show, Trey McWilliams, the CEO and founder of Blue Cardinal. Trey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ron. Glad to be here.
We got to talk a little bit before we jumped in, and I think, at least I feel like you and I connected on something, which is the importance of company culture. I'm super passionate about the culture. I think it is one of the elements of the core of your business. If you don't get this right, it's going to be a real hard climb. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your journey. And then once you're done with that, I'd love to know, what is your definition of culture?
Yeah, I'm Trey McWilliams. I'm a third generation. So my grandfather started an air conditioning business after he retired from the Navy in East Texas, a town called Lufkin, Texas. And my dad followed his footsteps. I had the great privilege at a young age to ride with my grandfather since about the age of 9 years old every summer. And by the time I got to driving age, my grandfather began to take the summers off. I began to kind of fill his shoes. And after high school, joined the family business. Really thought that's just what you were supposed to do. Joined a family business, end up marrying my high school sweetheart, and very, very soon after high school. So me and Brittany started a family fairly early and working in the business. And, you know, as many people, as you start working in the family business, you start looking for opportunity. And what does this mean for me? And like, is the business big enough to meet my goals and my desires as I lead this family? As I went through that journey and that thought process, I really came to this place of, if I feel this way, so does everybody else that works for my dad at the time. And I went to my father and said, hey, I'd like to change some things. Culturally, the business was probably like what people have envisioned of an air conditioning plumbing business being, of just, you know, a bunch of guys that couldn't make it anywhere else or have criminal records or all these different things. And honestly, we had a lot of that. And I just really wanted more. I knew the business could be more. I fought that for a couple of years, and it finally came to the conclusion, if not me, then who? And who's going to go change how this business is running? And I went back to my dad one last time and said, you know, here's what we're going to do. And I was very fortunate to have a dad that said, Trey, if you're willing to pay the price that's going to take, I'll get behind you. And we began to really look at the culture and how we handle the business, like more the intentionality of just, what are we trying to accomplish here? Who are we trying to recruit? From 2010 to 2013, the only person that was still left in the business that was there in 2010 was my mom's sister, which was my dad's secretary. So Teresa stayed with the business, and then we began to grow the business. By 2015, my dad became an absentee owner. By 2018, I'd bought him out, and we were scaling the business. We had greenfield, multiple locations, three small acquisitions, added plumbing across. So we were HVAC only. So the year we added plumbing, we had bought a small plumbing company, about $2 million in revenue, and really try to figure out how to operate a plumbing business. The next year, I put 26 plumbing trucks on the road across all the other branches and went all in. And during that time, we started building a good team. And really, at that point, Ryan, you know, we became a culture of opportunity, which becomes some of a burden at times, because the risk factors you have to do in your business to create opportunity on an ongoing basis for your people. I just realized, like, we were making more money than we've ever made. I was creating a lifestyle that something I never dreamed of, but realizing that my wife and kids didn't sign up for the risk I was taking every day. And if
Mhm.
something happened to me, there was a lot to unwind. I had a great, and I still do, a phenomenal team, but I was the driver and I was the risk guy. And that really brought me to this point of really the whole Blue Cardinal scenario that we're in today is many of the listeners, and, they hear about people selling their business and partner with these other businesses. And I said, well, that could be a path for me to allow me to continue to run as fast as I want to run, but at the same time, secure the future of my family for my wife and kids if something does happen to me.
Mhm.
And kind of went down that path. And, you know, my people are extremely important to me. They brought me to the dance. I love them. I like seeing them every day. We at McWilliams and Son, we track first time home buyers. All that stuff's very important to me. I tell everybody, your job is not your life. It's just a vehicle to get what you want out of life. And like my job is to create opportunity and stability for these people. And as I started looking at these different partnerships, I just couldn't get comfortable with any of that. And I had a great mentor that said, Trey, if you're feeling this way, there's a lot of contractors out there and that looking for a home to do what you're doing, but their people needs to be at the forefront of that. So that really led me to creating a group called the Blue Cardinal Home Services, which is really made up a bunch of like-minded operators that we created platform that brings some shared services to them, allows them to take some chips off the table. So I think it solves for a lot of things, but the subject we're going to talk about today is culture. And I think bringing a lot of different cultures together, I've learned a lot, and I've learned like really what drives that. And you asked me to say, Trey, define what culture is. And what I've always found is the extension of who the leader is.
Mhm.
If the leader's a fun, charismatic, hardworking guy, his team will be. If he's a guy that like finds the negative in everything, his team does the same thing. And as you begin to scale the organization, it's important the people you put on in place in the leadership positions, your culture will begin to shift to the average of those people. But it's
Mhm.
always, I've never been in an organization that has great energy and the leaders are low energy people. So
Yeah.
it's always about the culture of it's an extension of who the leaders are.
Culture is such a critical part of what we do and what I believe is it's the foundation, it's the fundamentals for growing a business that you can scale, getting the right people on the bus, getting the right people on the team, getting them to perform well, stay safe, all of those things. And I can't tell you how often I talk to owners who are like, "Let my team handle that. Let my team take care of it." And
Yep.
I'm like, "No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be a part of this. You have to be intentional. You have to hold your team accountable." I talk about this in my book. So many times companies start out small, and let's say you just start out and you've got maybe 5 or 6 guys that have direct access to you. Like, the culture is so easy because 'cause you're leading it every single day. And then you put a service manager in place. Then you put a customer service manager in place. And then you put accounting in place. And all of a sudden, your people get further and further from the owner. And if that owner is not incredibly intentional on making sure that culture gets all the way to the front lines, it's going to peter out real fast, real
Yeah.
fast.
No, and on that to that point, it's like around 25 employees is where we had low turnover rate, but they were, as we were scaling the organization, they were new, right? So it took a lot of emotional energy of mine to know these people, on a personal level. But as we begin to scale beyond that, it became almost impossible for me to, first off, that's a weakness of mine, but that became impossible for me of knowing everybody like I did when we were smaller.
Mhm.
And one thing that we did that I think has been a real big piece of our culture, because I think culture, you have to be intentional about it. And we put a brand ambassador. So right now we have a brand ambassador in every single location. And that brand ambassador does all our employee engagement. So Christmas parties, you know, tech day, whatever those things are, they do those. And there's a couple other pieces I'll go into later that's not as culture driven, but that they do. But the one of the things that most important to me is if I go into a new market and I'm going to see a general manager, the brand ambassador will be connected at the hip to me the whole entire time I'm there. And she's
Mhm.
typically telling me, Trey, that's Joey. He's been with us 2 months. They just had their first child. Because I want to talk to Joey and I want to ask Joey things that's really going on in his life. And I want to get to know Joey, but it's very hard to like get up to speed without having some intentionality around that. But it's little things like when Colton has a baby, it's going to be, hey, Trey, Colton and Lauren had their baby. What time are you going to the hospital? I have the onesie and I have the bag ready to go. And,
Mhm.
those things of keeping that family atmosphere at scale I had to put things in place that created that accountability, first off, for a leader, because there's a lot of things that were pulling at me that day or those days of I had many fires to go put out and be able to step back and say, hey, at the end of the day, like we're in the people building business and Trey, go take care of your people. And sometimes you got to have someone that is their number one job in your business. And for us, every market we have a brand ambassador.
Well, I have to ask because I know anybody listening right now is asking this same question. What is a brand ambassador and how on earth do you get started doing that? Because I can just hear a bunch of people saying, well, I don't have the time to get someone on board like that. I don't have the money to pay someone like that. Like, tell me, what is this brand ambassador? How's it work?
So I believe external marketing will not be more successful than internal marketing. So if your people do not believe in the products and the promotions you're selling externally, no matter how great of graphics, how great you're targeting the right audience with a promotion, they won't be successful. Your people have to buy in. And so it starts there of justifying. So our brand ambassador monitors our external marketing spend and makes sure that we have internal plan in place that highlights the benefits of our external plan. So it starts there. Because she engages in a service tech meeting of explaining the rebate program or the finance option, that also gave her the opportunity to build a relationship with those techs and those service managers and general managers and call center, that she also starts the employment engagement. So, I think how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So like our company party,
Absolutely.
our company meeting needs to be upbeat. The music better be playing. The PowerPoint better be clean, on point. The data on the PowerPoint better be accurate because we expect our team to do that in the customer's home. We better display that because they're our customer. And so the brand ambassador really is focused on our employee experiences and making sure they understand the external marketing plans. And that really, like I said, had morphed into managing the marketing budget with our vendors to internally marketing. So she's printing the promotions and they're going in the call center. So there's top mind awareness. She's explaining those things. She's making sure our reviews are forefront. So she's making sure that the techs understand the impact of getting great reviews for us. So anything that's like branding to customer experience to employee experience, we kind of morphed all that together to this brand ambassador. So like if you're in a management position for me, we believe that you need to have a servant's heart. A lot of people have never felt that before or don't know how to go about that. So if you're in a leadership position, our brand ambassador is going to place you on a nonprofit board and you're going to serve. And so it's really, and then that kind of morphed into this whole grassroots of, community involvement, right? If like, we'll put our money in the community, but we're not going to put it without a sweat equity component to it. So, if you want us to promote a little league game or little league, whatever, our banner, we're going to tell you where we want our banner, but we also are going to be there helping hand out fans or something that adds values. The brand ambassador really carries a lot of different hats, but it's all around customer experience and employee experience.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so much. It sounds like it's morphed into so many things. I love what you said that external marketing will never be as good as internal marketing if your people aren't bought in. I remember one of my first experiences, it was with an HVAC plumbing company. This was probably 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago. And they brought this consultant in and he did this whiteboard exercise where all the technicians are standing around this whiteboard. And he's like, let's talk about why it costs $450 to install a run cap that you can buy at Home Depot for 30 bucks. And it was just this whole exercise of getting them to buy in because so many technicians sell from their own pocketbook. Right? They're like, well, I wouldn't spend that kind of money, so I don't know if they should. And they get all sketchy about it. But that idea of being able to equip them with the information about your brand, your marketing, your promotions, and then making sure that they're fully bought in. I mean, there's so much value in that I think so many service contractors are missing because they're like, we just got to get the tech on site. We got to get the tech on site. We got to teach them to sell. We got to teach them to sell. I'm like, but they don't even know what they're selling half the time. I just had this horrible experience. I won't name the company, but they came out to do, my semi-annual PM. And I walk away with $1,000 estimate of all these nice to haves for my brand new 1.5-year-old unit.
Yep.
And I'm just like, yeah. And he's like, I just put this on paper in case you wanted it. And I was like, you probably could have sold me one or two of those things if you hadn't have overwhelmed me with all of this
Yeah.
stuff. And it was clear to me that this technician was not bought into the proposition of the brand because I know the brand. They're very well known in my area. And I'm like, you could have really had this, but here we have a technician who doesn't have the support of a brand ambassador or someone to really create that amazing experience for them internally so that they can go translate it into a great customer
Yeah.
experience, which is what you're talking about. And as I'm listening to you tell a story, I'm like, oh, I wish I had one of these. I
Yeah.
live like 2 states away. So that's when you open the Nashville branch, you let me know.
Yeah.
But no, that's incredible. And I love how you talked about how it morphed into this bigger employee experience thing. It really started out, how do we deliver a great customer experience through the internal marketing? But then over time, you saw opportunities to do the grassroots stuff, to get out there and really focus on the employee experience and creating great opportunities for them.
Well, I think at the end of the day, your customer will never have a better experience than your employee. And, you know, maybe a divorce or maybe whatever's going on in their personal life, maybe we don't think that's our business. But at the end of the day, it's our business. The brand ambassador really helps put that stuff together. So if they're having financial issues at home, we got to solve for it. We got to help them. And whether that's, for us, it's we'll put you through Dave Ramsey. If you complete the course, it's on us. If you don't complete the course, you need to pay us back. But we can ignore the problems, but at the end of the day, they're going to impact your business, impact your culture. And I want to be a place that really shepherds these people. And you know, at McWilliams and Son, when we were at 100 employees, 95% of our external staff were homegrown, never been in the industry.
Hmm.
And because what we found was we hired over attitude, not aptitude, and we could train all the technical stuff, but it's harder to train someone that's kind of got their life together, but you still got to put the things in place. And that's really with a brand ambassador and really comes alongside that general manager and says, hey, I got these problems and how can we solve for these? Maybe they're not our problems. It's not a turnover problem. It's not an average ticket problem. But at the end of the day, if their home life is out of check, eventually it will be your problem. And we try to go meet them where
Absolutely.
they're at.
I remind people all the time, this is not an Apple TV show where you get your people get into an elevator and they leave their home life behind and their work life are completely separated.
Yeah.
They bring all of that with them because at the end of the day, what's more important is the life they're creating outside of work, not what they're creating inside of work. You already said that.
Yeah.
And that's just, I think there's so many owners that need to hear this
Yeah.
because it's as common sense as it might be to you and me. I can
Yeah.
tell you it's not that common out there.
Yeah, and I think that's really our goal. I mean, we spend a ton of money and time in training. I think as you educate employees, I think a lot of people are scared. Trey, like, what if you train them and they leave? It's like, what if you don't and they stay?
Yeah.
And the same thing with like, as you educate these guys and girls more and more, you're going to have to continue to create opportunity. And I think that's where the scary part gets is like, hey, they get a master plumbing license, they're going to leave me. It's like, my goal is that they can't make more money with going anywhere else. And we want to make sure we're creating opportunities they need to meet their desires. And so,
Well, and how many of your competitors can go out there and say 95% of our frontline employees were homegrown?
yeah,
We came alongside them, we put our arm around them and we said, we're going to help you get your master plumbing license. How many of your competitors can say they actually do that
yeah.
at the rate you do? And I know that especially this modern workforce, they become loyal to companies who are loyal to the employee's success. If
And they
you're
don't know
loyal to
anything
your
else,
success.
right? They haven't experienced those other, they don't have bad habits. It's like they just haven't been a part of the home services in an unprofessional scene. They've only
Yeah.
seen what we've provided.
No, I think it's a fantastic strategy. I love the strategy. I wish more companies would do it. We would have less of a labor shortage or crisis if more companies said, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this on me. I'm going to go find someone. I'm going to hire for that attitude. I'll teach them all the skills.
Yeah.
But
I
we have
you
so
got,
many companies that are just like, I need the guy with 5 years experience. Like he's
and,
got to be skilled.
and we were not very successful with that until we figured out that in different states and different areas, this number may change, but you need to be able to guarantee someone $60,000 a year for them to quit a good job and move into a service technician role and train them. And you need to get them there like ASAP. Obviously, you want to be able to earn more than that, but what we found was we were not after the guy that didn't have a guy or girl that didn't have a job.
Yeah.
So, which brought on another set of challenges as we were after the guy or girl that didn't complain about their job. They just went to work every day. So what that made us, we quit targeting that guy and that girl. We started targeting that spouse and that grandmother and that mother because they're the
Brilliant.
ones that know how hard Johnny works and is not getting the opportunity he deserves. Typically, the Johnny we're looking for just puts his nose down and works. And so we started really targeting the person that sometimes is those people's voice, which is typically their wife or their girlfriend or their mom or their grandmother.
Yeah.
And that's been our marketing target. But we had to, if we were going to steal a guy from the school that, maybe he wanted to be a basketball coach and now he's just looking for an opportunity for a different career, it's very hard to bring that guy on at an entry level and say, in 3 years, you can make what this technician's making. No, we needed to be able to, in 8 weeks, we got to take them from 0 to 100 and put them in a truck. And that's how we
Brilliant.
call for that.
Brilliant. Well, hey, I know that you do a lot of working with a lot of owners. With Blue Cardinal, you create a lot of opportunity for people, especially as they're starting to think about exit. And I don't want to go down that path right now. I'd love to know though, what are your thoughts about what is happening in this industry and what do we need to be prepared for over the next 5 to 10 years? So for those leaders that are listening to this right now, what is Trey seeing as you start exploring these opportunities? What are you seeing that we need to be ready for?
Well, I think the good part I'm seeing as we go down that journey of partnering with different businesses, and the challenge for us is maintaining culture at the level they were at, meaning keeping people engaged as they embark on a new journey. But over the next 5 years, I do believe you'll see, a continuation of consolidation takes place. And I think as you see that though, as a guy that's, $3 million or $10 million, I see that as a huge opportunity because I believe as people get away from their culture, there's going to be a lot of great talent and customers looking for that experience that they were getting when the culture was kind of dialed in and it was all about customer employee and employees. So I think over as we see consolidation movement continue to take place, I look at that as an opportunity because I think there's going to be more and more people that's not at the forefront. It's about conversion rates. It's about dollars. And we lost sight that, you take care of a customer, take care of your employees, the dollars will come. And
Yeah.
it's inverse. So I see that. I think the technology will continue to adapt. So really interested to see. I think it's hard for me to look 5 years ahead because the call centers and the point of contacts is moving at such a rapid pace right now with the AI and honestly, just more sophisticated call centers. Like the people that are in the call centers today, I think we went from guys and girls that just answer the phone to true professionals in call centers today that I think is changing the game. And that first point of contact is so important in the customer's journey that I think that one is one that I've kind of got on my radar right now of customer acquisition is where you grow a business. And if you, that first point of contact beyond marketing, I think is something I would spend a lot of time fully understanding the opportunities that are in your call center today.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting, and I don't want to get into this right now, but I know that a lot of people are thinking, how do we solve that with AI? How do we solve that with automation? How do we replace that customer service rep? And I'll tell you, as a homeowner myself, and someone who's very intimate with the trades and knows what's going on, I don't want the bot. I want that personal connection, right? Like that's what I want.
I think there's a balance there, and I think customers will adopt that when they decide to adopt it. I think there's though a lot of stuff that happens in the backside. I believe after hours call centers, my experience with those hasn't been great.
Yep.
I think there's like areas that you can put those in there that either you're not willing as the owner or business leader to really fix, like you're not going to dedicate the resources to do it. AI might fix that for you. The overflow call center, and then the little nitpicking things like someone wanting to check on a bill or something. I think there's going to be ways to fixing that
Yeah.
of access that, because in our call center, about 45% of the calls that come in our call center every day are non-bookable calls, right? They're just checking on a bill, seeing where a tech is.
Yeah.
And if you can free up 45% of the bandwidth of your call center, just think how much better your customer experience would be. And I think that's where AI
Yeah.
solves for. But I think there's a lot of like our reporting on the back end of being able to give a tech their scorecard and truly giving coaching tips through AI down to the technician level every day. I think is the tech still need to be coached,
Yeah.
but the data's at your fingertips to really, I can jump in the trenches really quick with a tech right now compared to historically weekly, monthly, and I still didn't really know the full story. Now,
Yeah, I see that. I mean, I definitely see that AI, automation, a lot of stuff that's coming, it's kind of like putting on an Iron Man suit. You
yeah,
still need the human there to do it, but you're going to be so much more capable when you do. And that whole idea you were talking about with the consolidation that's coming, and we've got to be ready for it, and the fact that it impacts your people and your culture. I mean, one of the things that we've talked extensively about is this idea that when someone acquires you, they don't just want your equipment, they want your people. But usually when they acquire you, you go from the little culture you have now that's run by the owner to this more corporate enterprise type culture. And it can be really shock if we don't do the right things, set the right expectations, communicate with the people in the right way. And it can be really damaging to a brand, especially if someone wants to protect it because, maybe they're second or third generation. They're like, this is all I've known. I don't want to see it go the other way. And I've seen it as we start looking at more consolidation. I think there's a lot of value in being able to have conversations with your people and not just doing everything in the back and not telling them what's going on can really make for an easier transition for most of your people.
no, I agree. I think the biggest challenge we probably see is in these cultures is our goal is not to change the culture. Like we lead the leadership in place. Like Blue Cardinal should be very much like, hopefully they don't know us on a first name basis. That's not the goal. Our goal is to really, there's like payroll and there's accounting. There's things that we're typically not really good at in the branches that we can consolidate and like make more efficient and give cleaner data. But I'll tell you, like, I think the biggest thing, even in my own culture as I went through this journey, is lack of accountability that I allowed to take place. Now
Mm,
that it's on the forefront, I couldn't hide it no more. Like used to, it was my checking account. If I wanted to give bonuses because I love the guys, I gave bonuses even if the data didn't support it. And not realizing that what I was doing out of a loving spirit really created a very like a hard thing to create accountability after that. And so I think that was like that. And the second was like the lack of financial literacy below down to my service managers, because we always kind of focused on KPIs like in revenue. And that for me, that was my big failure was we really didn't have financial literacy and accountability really below the general manager position in our business.
got it. So much opportunity. Trey, thank you so much for everything you've shared here today. How do people learn more about you? How do they get connected? If they want to see what you're up to, because it sounds like you're doing some amazing things.
No, I'd love to talk to you guys. Like I said, I've watched my grandfather and my dad bust their butt for a long time and I have a whole lot to show for it. So like, there's nothing more fulfilling to me than however I could help you, regardless of the Blue Cardinal family, if I could do anything. And the easiest way is just to email me at trey@3mcholdings.com and we could jump on a call or whatever works for you guys.
Awesome. Trey, thank you so much for all your knowledge, your wisdom, your story, the journey you've been through. So much value. I've got a page of notes here and it's amazing. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, Ryan.
Ryan Englin here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.